But shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome to the Yahweh and Yahshua Speak television show. We're broadcasting from Yahweh and Yahshua's temple in Evanston, Illinois. And we are continuing on in our lesson, Yahweh's leadership of his leaders on Straight Street. Let's go to Proverbs 29. Yahweh's leadership of his leaders on Straight Street. Going to Proverbs 29. So Yahweh puts his leaders on Straight Street to make an eternal difference in the world. He tells the leaders, the men leaders, that they get the vision from him.
Hallelujah.
He tells the women leaders they give life to the vision that Yahweh gives to the men. Proverbs 29. And you don't know that till you come to Yahweh.
That's right, bro.
You don't know that till he puts you on Straight Street.
Like it is, bro.
That's why as a woman, when the man's not saying anything about what Yahweh is telling them needs to be done, is frustrating to women.
Yeah.
Proverbs 29, and we want to read verses 17 to 19.
Hallelujah.
Proverbs chapter 29 and verses 17 to 19 reads.
Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 17. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto thy soul.
All right, so bless Yahweh for his word. He's saying, correct thy bond. On Straight Street, Yahweh corrects his men and his women. And he corrects his sons and his daughters. And he shall give thee shalom. Yea, he shall give delight unto thy nefesh. So when we're on Straight Street, Yahweh is teaching us how to give him delight. Give him rest.
All right.
All right, by doing his will, knowing what his will is. Verse 18.
Verse 18. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Verse 19. A servant will not be corrected by words. For though he understand, he will not answer.
All right, he always says in the word where there is no vision, where he's given the men leaders the vision, and they're not standing up and telling the women leaders what the vision is. It says, then Ha'am died, the people died. But he that shamar, or keepeth HaTorah, the law, happy is he.
Yes.
Once we find out what the vision is from Yahweh, we're happy about it. We're glad then we can move forward and we can give life to the vision. But Yahweh gives men leaders the vision. Once the men leader get the vision, they tell the women, and the women leaders give life to the vision. They help to carry forth the vision. It says an Eved or servant will not be corrected by Dabarim. But on Straight Street, Yahweh puts us on to be corrected by him. Because we come from a crooked world. We come from crooked street. He said, but a servant will not be corrected by words, but though he understands, he will not shamar or answer. He will not amar. Well, that's not us. All right? On Straight Street, Yahweh tells his leaders, the man empowers the woman to help put his vision pieces together.
Hallelujah.
Go to 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter. 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter. Yahweh tells his leaders, the man empowers the woman to help put Yahweh's vision pieces together.
Hallelujah.
So when Micaiah needed me to teach, why? Because the men were not standing up to help him teach. Then he told us to put on the TV screen, and then sometimes we would announce it as I was teaching, that I was standing up under the authority and permission of Micaiah ben Yisrael. We put that on the screen.
Yes, praise the mighty God.
So Yahweh told us to have Micaiah answer any questions from brothers or sisters who came to the temple to ask him, or who called on the phone. We're in 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter. And as you know, that is still the practice now. Now there are some that don't understand that practice. But as Yahweh shows us in the lesson, and as he shows all of his leaders on Straight Street, that's what the practice is. The men protect the women. 1 Timothy 2, we want to read verses 12 to 13.
Hallelujah.
1 Timothy chapter 2, and let's read verses 12 to 13.
Praise
please.
him.
1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 12. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. Verse 13, for Adam was first formed, then Eve.
All right, so this is the reason that Yahweh told Micaiah to have me put that up on the screen and to explain to people, just say a little something if they came in and I have to be standing up teaching. He said, but I suffer not a Iyshshah to Yarah, nor to usurp authority over Ha'adam. Well, that's why we put under authority and permission of Micaiah bin Yisrael. But to be in silence, for Adam was first formed, then Kawa. And so if anybody needed an explanation, he would sit down and show them some stuff, but he didn't go into no long detail.
That's right.
Because he understood that there's a Greco-Roman doctrine out
That's
there
right.
that Hebrews
That's right,
have been indoctrinated by, and it would take hours and hours and days and weeks. So he explained to some people that seemed like they wanted to know. But if they just wanted to go back and forth, as Yahshua would say, then he would just tell them, look, this is what's happening at this temple, and that's it.
That's it.
So after Micaiah passed, I asked Brother Yahshua's permission.
Hallelujah. Praise the mighty
Would he
Yah.
authorize me to teach? So I put up, and I said a few times, I don't say it anymore, but
Hallelujah.
it was up on the first
That's right.
shows after Micaiah passed.
That's right.
Under the authority and permission of Yahshua bin Yisrael,
Right.
because he wasn't Ra'ah at
Right,
that
yeah.
time. All right? Let's go to Numbers, the 12th chapter.
Praise the mighty Yah for his revelation knowledge.
And that's one reason the brothers really didn't like Yahshua.
Praise him. Yahshua said it.
But you know what? Yahshua, Yahweh quickened him about the vision.
Hallelujah.
And Yahweh had already told me if the brother, I knew he was going to say yeah. But
Praise
if the
the
brother didn't say yeah, Yahweh had already told me, go ahead.
mighty.
All right?
Praise him.
Let's see. Hey, there was no doubt in my mind.
Hallelujah. Praise him.
All right, Numbers, the 12th chapter. So the woman does not and cannot supply the pieces of the vision. That's not her job.
Okay.
So if people come to you as a woman asking, okay, so how you going to do this? How you going to do that? If there's a man that's giving you the vision, you can kind of explain some things to them.
Yeah. That's right.
You can't give them the whole picture,
That's right.
because Yahweh don't give you the whole picture.
Hallelujah. Praise him.
And he even gives it to the man little by little.
That's
Then
right.
the man turns around and tells the women.
Praise him.
All right, the woman does not and cannot supply the pieces of the vision. Numbers 12, we want to read verse 6.
Hallelujah.
Numbers chapter 12 and verse 6 reads,
Numbers chapter 12 and verse 6. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream.
now he's talking about his men
Right,
that he
right.
put on straight street. And he amar or said, hear now my Dabarima words. This is Yahweh talking.
Right.
If there be a Nabi among you, if there be a man that's on straight street that I put on straight street and I'm teaching, I'm leading and guiding and showing what to do and he's doing it, I, Yahweh, myself, I'll make myself, Yada, unknown unto this prophet in a vision. So he gives the man the vision. And he said, I will amar or speak to him in a dream. So Yahweh tells his leaders that crooked people, the people on Crooked Street, compete with against each
That's
other.
right. Yeah, right.
And so before I go to this, Yahweh let me find this. I had seen it years ago, but as far as Yahweh giving the man the vision, and then the man turning around and telling it to the woman, he let me find this beautiful page of a Bible
Hallelujah.
that and I'm going to frame it because I had it in my picture album. He let me find this beautiful page of a Bible that my father gave to my mother.
Praise to my Yah.
And it says, presented to Mrs. William Kemp Fuller. That was my maiden name. By Corporal William Kemp Fuller. So evidently this was when he went in the Air Force. Date, September 17th, 1952.
Hallelujah.
And she's got 59 C-section, Abbeville, South Carolina. But this is Yahweh quickening to me. The man gets the vision.
Hallelujah.
So for this husband to send to his wife, he gave her a Bible.
Praise to my Yah.
And then she wrote in there the date that she got it. She was glad about this.
Hallelujah.
And Micaiah gave me several Bibles, and one of them he gave me was a small portable Bible, and that way I could carry it back and forth to work and read it at lunchtime. And that was a beautiful gift for him to give us. There you go, right. But Yahweh tells, so we understood we're not in competition.
I know, right?
And we're not in competition, the brothers and sisters at this temple.
Tell
But
like Israel.
the leaders on Crooked Street compete against each other. Go to Genesis, the 30th chapter.
Right?
So I've got two articles here while you're going to Genesis, the 30th chapter.
Praise Him.
And it's from the Urban Dictionary. And it's a definition for crabs in a bucket. A crab bucket is what it is, crabs in a bucket. However, what happens in the bucket full of crabs is what makes it a famous saying. When a single crab is put on a bucket without a lid, they surely can and will escape. However, when more than one crab shares a bucket, none can get out. If one crab elevates himself above all, the others will grab this crab and drag them back down to share the fate of the rest of the group in the bucket. Crab bucket syndrome is often used to describe social situations where one person is trying to better themselves and others in the community attempt to pull them back down. That's Crooked Street.
That's right.
Also often used in describing the ghettos of America, or anywhere for that matter. Crabs in a bucket is used to describe a person or culture that does everything in its power to destroy the ambitions of those among them who wish to improve themselves. It comes from the story of catching crabs in a bucket. When you catch a crab and place him in a bucket, the first thing he'll try to do is escape. Now, if you put two crabs in a bucket and place them in there together, as soon as one tries to climb up out of the bucket, the other will grab the escaping crab by the legs and try to escape itself, which the process gets repeated to the point where no crabs end up escaping. That's what Crooked Street does.
That's right.
And it tells men and women, it tells women and women, it tells men and men, they're supposed to compete against each other. And if one of them does anything good, then they're supposed to drag them down and tell them that's not good, or don't tell them anything, or don't tell them how good they're doing. That's the Crooked Street in the world. All right, we're in Genesis, the 30th chapter. We want to read verses 1 to 8. Genesis, the 30th chapter. Now, we're looking at some crabs right here.
Okay.
And these are the black Shemites. All right, Genesis, the 30th chapter. And chapter 30, verses 1 to 8 reads,
Genesis chapter 30, verse 1. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die.
Ah, here you go. She's in the flesh, in her natural mind. It says, and when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her Beth, her sister. And Amar said unto Jacob, hey, give me children, or else I'm going to move, or else I die. She envied her sister. Yahweh puts us on straight street to get that envy out of us. When we come and he puts us on straight street, he lets us know, look, that's what you did on Crooked Street. You don't come to the temple and envy anybody, anything in the temple. All right, verse 2.
Verse 2. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in Elohim's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of thy womb?
All right, praise Yahweh for his word. So we had looked at in the last show that the scripture said that Yaakov hated Leah. That was Rachel's sister, Leah. He hated her, but she kept popping out babies. So on Straight Street, Yahweh lets us know, get that crooked mentality out of us, because women think if a man wants to have sex with you, that's love. That ain't love, that's lust.
That's
we
right.
looked at that the last show. So now here, we see Yaakov's anger. So he hated Leah. He was a righteous man, but he hated her. He wouldn't have married her.
Right.
But still, he kept having relations with her. It says Yaakov's anger was kindled against Rachel. Now here she's envying her sister. And he, Amar, said, am I in Elohim's stead? Who hath withheld from you the fruit of the womb? He said, hey, we're having relations. We're doing what it takes. But I'm not the one to get you pregnant. All right, verse 3.
Verse 3, and she said, behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. Verse 4, and she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Yaakov went in unto her. Verse 5, and Bilhah conceived and bare Yaakov a son. Verse 6, and Rachel said, Elohim had judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan.
All right, so here is Rachel. Now she said, okay, go into my maid. But her motive is competition.
Right.
She's trying to be on top. She's trying to compete. All right, and then her maid did have a son. And it said, verse 6, and Rachel said, Elohim hath judged me, and have also Shemar heard my voice, and have given me a bond or a son. Therefore Karashi Hishem dawn. All right, verse 8, verse 7.
Verse 7, and Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Yaakov a second son. Verse 8, and Rachel said, with great wrestling have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali.
So what is she doing all this wrestling with her sister for? She's not supposed to. And when anybody, man or woman, comes to the temple, you're not supposed to be wrestling with your brother. I'm not supposed to be wrestling with my sister.
No.
Yahweh put me on Straight Street to get me out of that.
Yes, hallelujah.
If I ever did do that.
Hallelujah.
And it brings to mind years ago at my first temple. And I know we wore head coverings, but I guess it must have been before the feast day service started. And so I'm standing up talking to this sister, and she's looking at my hair, because Yahweh blessed me with a lot of hair.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't take credit for that. Yahweh blessed me with a lot of hair.
Right.
So we standing up talking, and I guess in her circle, she had been told she had long hair. And it only came down to here, to her neck. Well, I got some down here, but what I have to do with that?
I know, right?
Anyway, me and her standing up talking, and then I'm thinking she my friend, and all of a sudden she takes my head and jerks it on the side. My head went just like that. I guess she thought it was a wig. But see, I didn't know what I know now.
Right.
Because I would have said, what you pulling my hair like that for? It didn't hurt, but just she didn't expect my, and then she didn't even say, I'm sorry.
I know, right?
But I'm just saying that competition crab in a barrel,
Right.
she's envying me. Why? I didn't do anything to her.
That's right.
All right, praise mighty Yahweh.
Praise him.
Go to Luke the 14th chapter. So we're going to look at salty salt now. I'm salty salt now.
Okay. Praise him.
And then don't let me run into her. I haven't seen her in years, but I say, yeah, hey, sis.
I know, right?
You remember years ago when we were standing up talking, and then you pulled my hair to the side? Why did you do that? I know I play it just
Right.
I play it real nice.
Right. Praise him.
Luke the 14th chapter. But that was just Rachel and Leah. Rachel competing that I wrestled with my sister.
I know, right?
And I won. What is that? That don't mean anything. What if my hair had been a wig and it came off? What that mean? Would she have felt some kind of victory? What is that?
Yeah.
Nothing but the flesh.
The sister, yeah.
So on Straight Street, Yahweh makes his leaders into salty salt.
Okay.
Luke 14 verses 33 to 35.
Hallelujah.
Luke chapter 14, let's read verses 33 to
Praise
35.
Luke chapter 14 and verse 33. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. Verse 34, salt is good, but if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be seasoned? Verse 35, it is neither fit for the land, nor yet for the dunghill, but men cast it out. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear.
All right, so Yahshua is saying now, he that got spiritual ears,
That
but
right?
we all got spiritual ears.
Yep.
He says, so likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot. No way.
No.
Cannot be my disciple, my disciplined one.
Okay.
He says salt is good, so he's saying, hey, you're salt, you and I are salt.
Yes, we are.
But if the salt has lost its savor or its saltiness,
I know, right?
wherewith shall it be seasoned? What's it going to do any good to put it in anything?
Nothing.
And we got a saying where if you eat some food that's been seasoned by Gentiles and it don't have no taste, it's like that's their food or that's their meat. I don't know if you all use that expression, but we do. Like, hey, that's their meat. No, that's their food.
That's right.
It says, it is neither fit for the land, nor yet for the dunghill.
Okay.
But Adam or men cast it out. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear.
Praise him.
So he's saying, hey, on Straight Street, he wants to make you salty salt.
Oh, yeah.
I got another article about crabs in a barrel. Will it ever end? Don't crawl over and compete. Instead, celebrate each other.
Yes.
This is by Melody T. McLeod, MD, March 21st, 2011. She said, haters, do you know some people who just can't celebrate when someone else is doing a good thing? Crooked Street, that's who does that.
Y'all right, Rob. Tell her it is.
Yahweh puts us on Straight Street
Yes,
to get
he
that
has.
up out of us.
Yes, we have.
People who don't want to see anyone else be celebrated for their own deeds or even for just looking good.
Okay.
Sometimes even family members will become jealous
That right.
and try to derail your efforts and destroy your spirit. But no matter what obstacles come against you, you can make it if you treat people right. Stay focused on your goal and stay true to yourself and your God.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people just don't want to see others succeed, or they feel threatened if a little light shines on someone else, even for a minute. This has been a well-known quote-unquote syndrome in the black community, but it is said to exist in lawyers, even preachers.
Oh, yeah.
As people, as a race, as women, we don't have to compete. We can compliment, and ain't that a good thing? Yes, it is. That's what Yahweh puts his leaders on Straight Street for. There you go. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 8th chapter. So he shows salty salt leaders how to look past the obvious natural
I know, right?
to see what is happening in the spiritual.
That's right.
He tells leaders not to let issues divide them,
I know, right?
but to be responsible to each other.
Yes.
And he asked the question, Cain asked the question in Genesis, am I my brother's keeper? He was trying to be smart,
I know,
but
right?
yes,
Yes,
we are
we
our
are.
brother's keeper. Ecclesiastes, the 8th chapter.
Hallelujah.
Yahweh tells his leaders to not let issues divide them,
That's
but
right.
to be responsible to each other.
Yep, man up.
Yeah, Ecclesiastes, the 8th chapter. We're going to read verse 5.
Praise him.
Ecclesiastes chapter 8
Praise him.
and verse 5 reads,
Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and verse 5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment.
All right.
Yahweh puts his leaders on Straight Street so they can learn how to keep his commandments,
Right.
or his mitzvah, and feel no raw thing. Why? Because they're keeping the Torah. And it says that in a kakam Adam's pay or lave, a wise man's heart discerneth both time and mishpat or judgment.
Yep.
So that's what he puts his leaders on straight street to do. So there was an issue that came to someone other than the leaders at this temple, and it was brought to me secondhand, and it was classified as something that I should handle because I was a woman. So after I heard the issue, I immediately took it to the men leaders and told them because the issue involved one of the men.
Praise the mighty God.
And Yahweh had me discern that it was a trap to divide me from the accused man leader. Go to Numbers, the 1st chapter.
Praise Yahweh.
So it was not so. It was something that needed to be handled by the leaders at the temple, and especially the men.
Oh, Yahweh.
Numbers 1st chapter, and it was handled.
Praise Him.
Matter of fact, it was beautiful the way that the brother stood up, the leader, and he handled it. He went right to the source. Numbers 1, and we haven't heard a peep out of it since. We want to read verses 2 to 3.
Praise
Numbers chapter 1 and verses 2 to 3.
Numbers chapter 1 and verse 2. Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families by the house of their fathers, with the number of the names, every male by their poles. Verse 3. From 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Yisrael, thou and Aharon shall number them by their armies.
All right, so Yahweh puts his leaders on straight street when they are 20 plus years old.
Okay.
It says, take ye the sum of all the congregation of Haban, the children of Israel, after their mishpachah, by Habayit, or the house of their Abba, and with the number of their Shem or name, every male by their poles, from 20 years old and upward. All that are able to go forth to war in Israel. Thou and Aharon shall number them by their armies. So coming from Crooked Street, Yahweh tells his leaders that they may arrive as 20 plus boys and girls.
Okay.
That's why he got to put us on Straight Street.
Yeah.
Because Crooked Street deceives boys and girls by telling them they're grown at 18.
I know, right?
Matter of fact, I had an experience in my family, and a grandmother was recounting to me how this child told them how they grown. But the parents told them they were grown and they just turned 18. Even military service, minimum age is 17 on Crooked Street.
I know, right?
With parental consent, or 18 without parental constraint.
Right.
Go to Numbers 14. And this brings to mind, I might have mentioned it to you before, I had a cousin who was 19 and went and joined the army and got killed in Vietnam. And I recall it was like as a child, we knew something was wrong when the soldiers were coming up, on the porch.
Right.
And about to ring the bell. We just knew.
Right.
But he was 19. He was a child.
I know, right?
But Crooked Street does that.
Yup.
So on Straight Street, Yahweh tells his leaders 17 and 18-year-olds are children.
Right.
Numbers 14, and we're going to read verse 29.
Hallelujah.
Numbers chapter 14 and verse 29 reads.
Numbers chapter 14 and verse 29. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me.
All right, so here Yahweh is letting them know, hey, 20 and up, you're accountable.
Right.
Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and up, 20 plus, which have murmured against me. So on Straight Street, Yahweh tells his leaders that 20 plus is the age to accept responsibility for their actions.
Okay.
Go to Genesis, the 16th chapter. And you won't hear this unless you're on Straight Street.
All right.
And if I had been in further touch with the parent and the child and the grandmother, I would have said it.
Right.
I would have, but I'm here at third, fourth, fifth hand.
Right.
And so I may get the opportunity. Yahweh's bringing back some members of my family where we're closer and closer.
Hallelujah.
And so,
Hallelujah.
if I get the opportunity,
Right.
He'll give me the words to
Yes,
say.
he will. Yes,
I'm
he
not going to
has.
sit there pretending like somebody's wrong when they're
I know, right?
Mm.
Not what thus says Yahweh.
No, And I was thinking about when I was looking at these scriptures, how years ago, when they had the McCormick Place entrance off of Lakeshore Drive, I think they switched it over to another side. But it might have been on this other side. But what happened was, there was a group of Gentile teenagers from the suburbs, about 5 or 6 of them, in a little car. And what happened was, they didn't realize the exit was on the other side, and they were on the other side of the expressway. Well, if you've been on Lakeshore Drive, when you get past downtown, then you've got that Jeffrey bus, and I think it's one other bus. So once they get past Roosevelt, then they're getting ready to go into high gear to get on the expressway.
Express
Once
bus.
you're right there, and then there's a Stevenson interchange and stuff. So what happened was, the child had to be about 16 or 17, with a car full of teenagers. They were going to Bruce Springsteen's concert. And they realized, oh, the expressway is whatever side. They were all the way, and then they decided they could make it. And then they cut across the expressway, and the bus driver had just hit in high gear because he's getting ready to go on the expressway. Killed them all. And just showing you, Yahweh knows that there's accountability. And they've done some scientific studies to show the brain is not fully developed until they're 20. So it was a sad thing. And they interviewed the bus driver, and he was really in the hospital, but there was nothing he could do. They just, that was it.
Carry the cross.
Yeah. All right, so on Straight Street, Yahweh tells his leaders that 20 plus is the age to accept responsibility for their actions.
All right.
And to hold each other accountable and to back each other up.
Yes.
Genesis 16, chapter 16, we want to read verses 1 to 6.
Hallelujah.
Genesis chapter 16 and verses 1 to 6.
Praise
Reads.
Genesis chapter 16 and verse 1. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. Verse 2. And Sarai said unto Abraham, Behold, now Yahweh hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarai.
All right, bless Yahweh for his word. So when I was reading this, now here we see Sarah Abram's Iyshshah bear him no band. So she had a handmaid who was a Ibryi. Her name was Hagar, so he said, hey, go into my maid and then have a child by her. And then it says, Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. Well, we're going to read a little later, after Sarah has Yitzchak, then a problem's going to develop.
Conflict.
And Yahweh's going to tell Abram, hey, that's all right, let her go.
Right.
But he didn't say anything here. But Abram, now wait a minute, come on. But Abram, he listened to her.
Yeah.
So there's a time to support what the men and women are saying, and there's a time not to. Okay, verse 3.
Verse 3. And Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abraham to be his wife. Verse 4. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes.
Now, here she go with the little competition, with the little envy. Now Hagar thinks she got a little something going on. All right, it says, Abram went into Hagar and she got pregnant. And then when she saw that she had conceived, she despised her mistress. But now it's gonna kind of go to her head. She's kind of thinking, okay, you know what, I got an advantage or something.
Right.
All right, verse 5, but it created a problem.
Yep.
Okay, verse 5.
Verse 5, and Sarai said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee.
Huh.
I have given my maid into thy bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Yahweh judge between me and thee. Verse 6, but Abram says unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face.
All right, so here's Sarai telling Abram, hey, my wrong be upon you. Why didn't you stop?
Huh.
Why do you tell me? That's a dumb idea,
I
Sarah.
know, right?
Why you just gonna go and join me in this stuff? She said, my wrong be upon you.
Huh.
Give my maid to your bosom, and when she saw she conceived, she hated me. Yahweh judge between me and you. So don't join me in doing some dumb stuff. Tell me when I'm getting off track.
Right.
All right, but Abram, he said to Sarah, hey, she's your maid. I didn't got nothing to do with this. She's your maid. Handle it. And she did. She took care of it and got the woman straight. Go to Genesis 21. So on Straight Street, Yahweh tells his leaders they are responsible to each other.
Yeah.
There are times to follow and support what each other says,
That right?
and times not to follow and support what each
Y'all
other
right.
says.
Tell like it is.
So it's not just because a man says this or just because a woman says that. You don't just go along blank and blank. You see what the scripture says.
Yep.
All right,
Like
Genesis 21. We want to read verses 5 to 12.
Praise the mighty God.
Genesis chapter 21
Praise Him.
and verses 5 to 12.
Hallelujah.
Reads,
Genesis chapter 21 and verse 5. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. Verse 6. And Sarah said, Elohim had made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me.
all right, so now, bless Yahweh. Here's the promised child.
Right.
All right, here's the righteous lineage. So Sarah, it says Yitzchak was born. Abraham was 100. But Yitzchak was born, and then Sarah Amara said, Elohim made me to laugh, so that all that shall Shamar hear me will laugh with me. All right, verse 7.
Verse 7. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. Verse 8. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. Verse 9. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham mocking. Verse 10. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac.
All right, praise Yahweh for his word. So now they're giving I guess Yitzchak was about 2 or so.
Yeah.
And they're giving this weaning ceremony, and they had a great feast. And then here, little Ishmael, okay, he's about 12 or 13, he's a little jealous. And then he's kind of mocking. He said he saw the child, the son of Hagar mocking. All right, and then Sarah saw it and said to Abram, look, throw this woman out, throw her son out. The son of this slave woman is not heir with my son. Look, this is the righteous lineage. So she's saying, okay, we did some stuff way back then. My wrong be upon you. Now let's handle it.
Okay.
All right, verse 11.
Verse 11. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. Verse 12. And Elohim said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. In all that Sarah had said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
So now you see where on Straight Street Yahweh stepped in and let her know, because now they're in right standing.
Okay.
He didn't say anything about when they did this thing and went into Hagar.
Yeah.
But 11 it says, Abraham, he loved Ishmael. He said the thing was grievous when Sarah told him, hey, throw her out. This is not going to go on with my son. The thing was grievous in Abraham's sight because of Ishmael his son.
Okay.
And Elohim stepped in and told Abraham, don't let it be grievous in your sight because of the child, because of the bondwoman's son. And all that Sarah hath Amara said unto thee, listen, pay attention, follow what she telling you, for in Yitzchak shall thy seed be Korah. This is where you're going to get this multitude of nations. This is where my plan is going to be carried forward. So you see there are times when, depending on who's talking, Yahweh says to follow and support them. And there's other times where he says don't follow and support. Like when Job's wife going to talk about, curse Yahweh and die.
I know, right?
Yeah, he can't support that. He told her, get out of here. I'm not going along with that. But we see here, Yahweh told him, look, listen to what your wife is telling you. The woman and your son will be all right. Go to Exodus, the 9th chapter. So on Straight Street, Yahweh tells his leaders, Crooked Street people say I was wrong and they don't mean it.
I know, right?
That's what people do on Crooked Street. On Straight Street, when you say you were wrong, you mean it.
Yes.
And people can see it because you follow up behind it.
That's right.
You don't do it again, you're different.
Right. Praise him.
But on Crooked Street, they just say you're wrong, but they don't mean it. Because they keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over. Exodus 9 and verse 27.
Praise him.
Exodus chapter 9 and verse 27 reads.
Exodus chapter 9 verse 27. And Pharaoh sent and called for Moshe and Aharon and said unto them, I have sinned this time. Yahweh is righteous, and I and my people are wicked.
So it sounds like he's really saying something good, don't he?
I know, right?
And so, but we understand, we read the scripture, we know what it took for him to release the children of Israel. It took his son getting killed. And Pharaoh sent in Korah for Moshe and Aharon, and Amar said to them, I have hata'ah this time, I've sinned. Yahweh is Sadiq, Yahweh is righteous. I and my people are Rasha, wicked.
Right.
He's just talking. Go to chapter 10. Exodus chapter 10. We want to read verse 16. Exodus chapter 10 and verse 16 reads.
Praise him.
Exodus chapter 10 and verse 16. Then Pharaoh called for Moshe and Aharon in haste. And he said, I have sinned against Yahweh your Elohim and against you.
All right, so he's saying it again. That's what they say on Crooked Street. They'll say whatever it takes or whatever they think you want to hear. I remember years ago, this lady her and her husband were having a discussion. And then she said, well, why'd you lie to me? Well, because I knew you wanted me to lie to me, to lie to you. You didn't really want to hear the truth. She said, are you nuts? How you gonna stand up and tell me I want you to lie? Then Pharaoh called for Moshe and Aharon in haste. And Amar said, I have hata'ah, sinned against Yahweh your Elohim and against you. He was just talking, he didn't mean it. All right, go to 1 Timothy, the 5th chapter. So on Straight Street, 1 Timothy 5, Yahweh tells his leaders to accept the blame for what they do. And to protect women and children.
Praise him.
1 Timothy, the 5th chapter.
Praise him.
Now, Crooked Street to tell you, hey, what is it? Every man for himself. If you can get out the door faster than the women and children, leave them.
I know, right?
It's sad. It is. Funny if it wasn't so pathetic.
I know, right?
1 Timothy, the 5th chapter and verse 8.
Praise God.
1 Timothy, chapter 5 and verse 8.
1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 8. But if any provide not for his own, especially for those of his own house, he had denied the faith and is worse than an infidel.
All right, worse than an unbeliever. But if any provide not for his own house, you're talking about men now, especially for those of his own bayit or house, his family, he have denied not or the faith. So on Crooked Street, you might have been out there not, providing.
Right.
But he said on Straight Street, y'all were going to tell you.
I know, right?
He said, you deny the faith and you worse than an infidel. You worse than an unbeliever.
I know,
All
right?
right, you might as well believe in Satan the devil.
That's right.
All
Just
right.
like it is, right?
Go to 1 Samuel, the 29th chapter. But Crooked Street will tell you, oh, hey, it's all right.
I know.
If you can get a woman to support you and take care of you, hey, just
Right.
ride it as long as you
I know,
can ride
right?
it. And then when that one get tired, go ride
I
another.
know, right?
And then, you know, if you can't get the sister to ride on the sister, ride on the white woman.
I
Ride
know.
on the Chinese woman.
Right? Just like it is, right?
That's why there are so many turning to the other nationalities. See, because Yahweh made nationalities to where they understand the nuances and the caveats and the different things within their own culture.
Right, right.
And they can hold people accountable, which is a good thing. And those that are not a part of the culture, there's some nuances and things that they'll miss and not pick up and not really understand
Yeah.
to kind of do the give and take. I
Yeah.
saw, I don't know if I saw it in a magazine or whatever, but I was looking at Tiger Woods. He looks like he's about 70 or 80 years old. He looks horrible. I'm thinking, wow, was it all those white women with the blonde hair?
Yes.
He looks
That's
horrible. Big old bags under his eye. He just looks old. His hair is gray. It's like, poor thing. I'm praying for him.
Right.
He looked horrible.
Stressed out.
Yeah. All right, 1 Samuel 29. So King David thought like Crooked Street when he went to fight against Israel.
Right, right.
1 Samuel 29, we want to read verses 1 to 5. 1 Samuel chapter 29 and verse 1 to 5. Reads.
Hallelujah.
1 Samuel chapter 29, verse 1. Now the Philistines gathered together all their armies to Aphek, and the Israelite pitched by a fountain which is in Yisrael.
Now here's the Philistine getting ready to fight a battle against Israel.
I know.
All right? It says the Philistines gathered together all their armies to Aphek, and the Israelites pitched by a fountain which is in Jezreel. So the Philistines are on one side, the Hebrews are on another. All right, verse 2.
Verse 2. And the masters of the Philistines passed on by hundreds and by thousands, but David and his men passed on in the reward with Iyshshah. Verse 3. Then said the princes of the Philistines, why do these Hebrews here? And Iyshshah said unto the princes of the Philistines, is not this David, the servant of Shaul, the king of Yisrael, which hath been with me these days, or these years, and I have found no fault in him since he fell unto me unto this day.
All right, so now here's one of these Hamites, these Philistines, and he's looking at David and his mighty men. Look, wait a minute. What they doing over here on our side? He said, then said the prince of the Philistines, what these Hebrews doing with us? We're Hamites. We getting ready to fight against the Hebrews. He said, isn't this David, the servant of Shaul, the king of Israel? He's been with me these days, and I haven't found any fault in him, but what are they doing here? We're getting ready to fight against their people. There was something wrong with that. All right, verse 4.
Verse 4. And the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him, and the princes of the Philistines said unto him, make this fellow return, that he may go again to his place which thou hast appointed him, and let him not go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men? Verse 5. Is not this David, of whom they sang one to another in dances, saying, Shaul slew his thousands, and David his 10,000?
So, well, wait a minute. Did y'all forget he cut Goliath's head off? Isn't this the one? Wait a minute. What is he doing on our side? They said, hey, make this fellow return, and he may go again to his place that you have given him, and he can't go down with the battle with us. Because he may, in the heat of the battle, he's on our side and he'll start killing us. in this the Dawid that they sang one to another in dances? So they done heard from the land of Israel,
Hallelujah.
hey, Shaul slew his 1,000, but Dawid is 10,000?
Hallelujah.
Like, what are these Hebrews doing here with us if we
I
get ready to go
know, right?
fight against his people? All right, go to 1 Samuel, the 30th chapter. So King David had his men follow him and leave their women and children unprotected.
Yeah, yeah.
So he made a decision that wasn't quite right there.
Right.
Okay, and Yahweh helped them out with these
Yes.
Hamites. Like, no, what are they doing? We get ready to fight against their people. What are they doing on our side?
Right.
All right, so Yahweh sent them back, but he left the women and children unprotected.
Right.
And his men follow him to do something he shouldn't have been doing.
Right.
1 Samuel 30, chapter 30, let's read verses 1 to 8.
Praise the mighty
1
God.
Samuel chapter 30 and verse 1 to 8 reads,
1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse 1. And it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag and smitten Ziklag and burned it with fire. Verse 2. And had taken the women captive that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. Verse 3. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captive.
all right, praise Yahweh. But
Praise him.
Yahweh didn't let any of them get killed,
Right.
but you see the men left them unprotected. Then the city got burnt down, and then here they come back, and then they carried them away captive. It says, so Dawid and his Adam men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their Iyshshah, their wives, and their bond, their son, and their Beth, their daughters, were taken captive.
Yeah.
All right, skip down to verse 8.
Verse 8. And David inquired at Yahweh, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all.
All right, so Yahweh had mercy on him.
That's right.
But because he left the women and children unprotected.
Right.
And Dawid, he prayed to Yahweh, but in between verse 3 and verse 8, his men were talking about killing him. All right, because they were following him, thinking he's hearing from Yahweh. Well, he missed it a little bit on that.
Yeah.
But Yahweh blessed him.
Yes,
Go to
he did.
Genesis, the 33rd chapter.
Hallelujah. Praise the mighty God.
Yeah,
Praise
that's Yahweh.
redemption.
So he wasn't trying to miss it on purpose. Yahweh using Hamite to help him out. Tell that man to go home. Tell him to get up out of here.
Praise the mighty God.
So Yahweh gives his salty salt leaders a righteous appreciation of men and women's value and roles. Genesis 33. We'll read verses 1 to 3.
Praise
Genesis chapter 30.
Praise Him.
And verse 1 to 3 reads.
Genesis chapter 33 and verse 1. And Yaakov lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah and unto Rachel, and unto the two handmaids. Verse 2. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel, Job, and Yahshua hindermost. Verse 3. And he passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother.
All right, so here is Yaakov doing kind of the same thing that Abram had to do.
Yeah.
It says, Yaakov lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, here come Esau, and 400 men with him. And he divided the children unto Leah and unto Rachel and unto the two handmaids. He put the handmaids and their children in the front.
Right.
Why? Because he understood that that Yahshua was part of the righteous lineage.
That's right. You're
So
right,
he's protecting them.
Yeah.
Not that he's sacrificing these other children,
No.
but he's got in mind, hey, Yahweh said, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Yahshua. So it's going to go down that way.
Yeah,
so it says he put them in the back. And then he passed over in front of all of them and bowed himself in front of Esau and kissed the ground to get his favor. All right, so on Straight Street, Yahweh tells his leadership, men and women, they share the partnership of dominion.
Yep.
Go to 1 Corinthians, the 11th chapter.
Yep.
They share in the partnership of dominion.
Yes. Praise him.
1 Corinthians 11.
Praise him. Revelation knowledge.
See, in the crooked world, they wanted to either go one way or the
I
other.
know, right?
They want like the woman to do all the stuff, or they want the man to do all the stuff.
Yep.
Or then they want to do this like 50-50.
I know, right?
No, Yahweh has to lead. He tells you on Straight Street you got to be led and guided in each situation.
That's right.
But he gives the man the vision.
Praise
The
him.
man don't open his mouth to say what the vision is.
I know, right?
Everybody just gonna sit there.
That's right.
All right.
Hallelujah.
Straight Street, 1 Corinthians 11. We want to read verses 11 to 12.
Praise
Yahweh
God.
tells his leadership, men and women,
Praise him.
they share the partnership of dominion. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 11 to 12.
1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 11. Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in Yahweh. Verse 12, for as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman. But all things of Elohim.
All right, so we see that we're interconnected in this thing. Nevertheless, neither is Ha-Adam or the man without Ha-Iyshah or the woman. Neither Ha-Iyshah without Ha-Adam in Yahweh. We're all part of the family.
Right,
Brothers and sisters in the family. Whether we're husbands or wives or whatever, we're still brothers and
That's
sisters
right. Hallelujah.
in the family.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
of us wouldn't be here without the other.
That's
The
it.
woman was taken out of the man, then thereafter the woman was having the men
That's
and the
right.
women. All right?
Hallelujah.
Says, for as the woman is of the man, she was taken out of the man, even so is the man by the woman. She's the one that has the babies by
All
the
right.
man. But all things are of Elohim.
Yes.
All right, go to Genesis 24. So since Yahweh selected the two men leaders at our temple,
Praise him.
when we go to other temples, we demonstrate our co-dominion partnership.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm thinking about going to Genesis 24. I'm thinking about when we went to this beautiful temple, and they have the men sit on one side and the women sit on another. So then we caught on when we got there,
Praise the Maria.
and wasn't nobody yelling out, well, wait a minute, what y'all doing with your... No, we're sharing the co-dominion partnership. We just went, we sat and separated.
Yeah,